Here's what the Houston Rockets should do this offseason. Although the Rockets did not make the playoffs, we could tell by how they played, especially when they had that 10-game winning streak. They were playing much better basketball this season. And I've talked about it before, and so have a bunch of people. I think a lot of that credit goes to Ime Udoka because it was clear when he was in Boston, he was a really good coach. He got them to the NBA Finals. Obviously, we know, again, it's not just him, the players and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, his coaching seems to make other players better and the team better. So the Rockets' future looks really bright now. Jalen Green, especially when Alperen Sengun went out with his injury, Jalen Green started lighting it up on everybody, and that's when they went on the 10-game winning streak without Alperen Sengun. And if you watch this page, you know I'm a huge fan of Alperen Sengun. I think he's a future multiple-time All-Star. And so, you're playing without a guy with that level of talent, and you go on a 10-game winning streak. I mean, that's impressive. Bringing in Fred VanVleet was a smart move. Veteran, I talked about it when they did bring him in. I thought this was a perfect player to put alongside Jalen Green just to teach him, what it's like to be an NBA pro, a champion, all that stuff. So with all that being said, what moves do the Rockets need to make now in order to become, I don't even know if you want to say contenders next year, because I'm not sure if they could do that or if they're trying to do that, but to build towards contention in the next couple of years? To me, I feel like they need to try to get a wing player, but they do have talent up and down the roster, a lot of young players at every position. But when I say wing depth, I mean their first target, Mikal Bridges. Now, if you saw the report, it came out that Brooklyn is not interested in trading Mikal for the number 3 overall pick that the Rockets have, and so whatever with that. But the Rockets are clearly interested in getting Mikal Bridges, and he would be an awesome fit on the Rockets. That's the exact type of player or something like that they need to go for. So I definitely think targeting Mikal Bridges should be on the number 1 priority list for the Rockets and the Knicks, honestly. So they'll be fighting it out. Someone else who is a free agent, who I don't know how this exactly would work or if it would work, but that would be Paul George. They don't have the money to give Paul George, this max extension that Paul George wants, and they don't have the money to even give him close to it, right? So they can't pay him the money that they can't pay Paul George the money he wants, but there's always the option of a sign-and trade if the Clippers don't want to lose Paul George for nothing, because he could walk if he really wants to. I believe he has a player option, which he's going to turn down, so that's kind of why he'd be free. And so if he does that and the Clippers are we're moving into a new arena, we don't want to lose him for nothing, the Rockets have a ton of assets, so they could negotiate, from that standpoint. Personally, I think I like Mikal Bridges better just because he is younger. He's 26, and so he has time to grow with the team, and it gives them a few years, to get into that win now mode. For Paul George, it's win now. There's no, next couple of years, because Paul George, although he's still playing great, he's in his 30s. He's 33, 34. You don't have much time, and then you would kind of have to rush this rebuild that they were in, and you don't really want to do that when you have Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun, whose ceiling is really high. So I say Paul George could be an option. I don't know if that would be my number 1 pick, but I mean he could be an option. At a worst case scenario, you have an all-star caliber wing who can teach the young guys and maybe even help you be a contender now, because Paul George is really good, and then you have so much talent around him. It's also going to be interesting to see, and I do think the Rockets have to make this decision, maybe not this offseason, because maybe it's a little too early, but by next offseason, which young players are you going to move forward with, and which ones are you going to, unfortunately, either trade or let walk in free agency? Because Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, I just talked about them a bazillion times already. So those two of your youngest guys who have super high ceilings, bright futures. So you're not moving them, right? You also just got Amen Thompson in last year's draft. And if you watch this page, I'm also a fan of his. I liked him coming out of this draft, and he played very well for the Rockets this year when he played as well. So I don't think you want to move on from him anytime soon, because his potential could be really, really, really high as well. But don't forget, you also have Jabari Smith, who you literally drafted 2 years ago. So you have him, plus you have a whole bunch of other young guys like Tari Eason and just all these guys on the bench. So a decision is going to have to be made sooner rather than later. So I really think for the Rockets, they're in a great place. They're an up-and-coming team. They have a lot of things to look forward to, and I think they're in a great place right now. But I think those are the two things, if I was the Rockets, that I would be looking to address. Like bringing in someone like a Mikal Bridges, or, you know, someone who maybe is a little bit younger but has that Mikal Bridges, you know, potential and has shown flashes of it. Someone like that. Or, and, like I said, maybe Paul George. And then also, again, not necessarily this offseason, but sometime soon, addressing which young guys you're going to move forward with. Because if you're going to be a contender, you need to have a mix of young guys who are athletic and all these kind of players, but also some veterans. We always see teams that win have veterans on their team one way or another. So, like, I think in order to win a championship, you know, if they want to win in the next 2 years, I do think they need to bring in some kind of veteran presence. But for right now, they're in a good spot.